Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Michelle Williams, and we are here today to talk about eating with the seasons for spring and summer fruits and vegetables. So I'm excited, and let's go ahead and get started. So I always like to talk a little bit about sort of why we want to eat with the seasons and what that means specifically. But basically, of course, that means that you're eating food when they're at their peak flavor and at their peak readiness for nutrient density, depending on where you live. So, of course, people who live in the Northeast will have different seasonal fruits and veggies than people living in the Southeast and other places in the United States. So, in general, it's important to understand that fruits and vegetables, of course, get planted and then they are harvested in order to grow. Now, when we talk about sort of mass producing food, we are sometimes not allowing our fruits and vegetables to get to their peak, and we are cutting them and harvesting them prior to their readiness level. And that's why sometimes you get green bananas in the store or strawberries that have white tops or some other version of unripe fruits and vegetables. So if you buy fruits and vegetables from your local farmers market or from that are at peak for your area, you will most likely get ones that are fully developed and ready to be eaten. It's important to know that the nutrient value of food is at its highest when we are eating things that are local and at their peak development. So if you get, say, strawberry, if you like to eat strawberries year round, and you know that they're kind of in season in the summertime, but you're wanting them in December, you are likely either going to get them from another location entirely where they are in season, or the variety or ones that you're able to purchase in the store may not be as good because they're not being grown in the um, environment with which they were meant to be grown in. So, there's a wide variety of differences, and we're going to talk about some of those now. If you take a closer look at your calendar, and every state has what's called it's got different names depending on the state. But I live in Florida, so down here it's runs through the University of Florida. So I'm not quite sure which one you would go to up there, but you can look at your seasonal vegetable list, and it will give you by location. You type in your zip code or maybe your state, and it will tell you exactly which fruits and vegetables are most that are in season throughout the whole year. And that is a really important thing, because if you're trying to eat for health and you're really wanting to give your body the most phytonutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, so on and so forth, then eating with the seasons can be really helpful, because that's again when the highest level of those things are in the fruits and vegetables that we're eating on a day-to-day basis. So I kind of focused on New England. So some spring vegetables are here: beets, spinach, summer squash, peas, beans. As you can see, peppers, eggplant, corn, carrots, and cabbage. Those are kind of the main ones that grow most easy during this time. So for spring vegetables, for them to be harvested around the March, April timeframe, they are mostly planted in mid-November to early December, and then over the next 3 months is when they start to be able to be harvested. So there's lots of different things we can do with these foods, and I talk to people a lot about, like, think about what you could make with this variety of fruits and vegetables. So one of my favorite salads is a spinach salad with beets, garbanzo beans, maybe some vegetables, cucumbers, peppers, etc., and some goat cheese. And you mix that all up together. The goat cheese kind of gives it a nice cream flavor. Spinach is a dark leafy green, which has all of the benefits of antioxidants, fiber, calcium, vitamin K. And then beets, of course, have lots of fiber in them, but also they have, because of the purple coloring, there's quercetin and other antioxidants in them that actually help with cardiovascular health. With your squashes and your zucchinis and whatnot, you can make all sorts of what's called like summer squash, where you can roast it, you can open them up, and you can put like a little, maybe sprinkle a little bit of brown sugar or maybe a little butter on top of them, and then bake them. Those make for a delicious side dish, and they can be sliced, they can be scooped out, it can be made into spaghetti squash, where you can actually use it for spaghetti instead of maybe an enriched white flour noodle. Our peas and beans can be added to anything. So, making a pea soup or a chili type situation. This is a good time for that because, of course, it's still cold in a lot of places. And so, having some nice fresh bean something, whether it be a soup, a stew, a chili, etc., is good. You can really think about lots of different vegetables. And one of the things I like to do is if I'm sort of stuck and I don't know what I want to make, but I know I want something healthy, I'll type in, where I live, seasonal vegetable dish recipe or something like that, and I try to find a recipe that includes some of these items in it so that I know I'm getting that peak nutrition that we were talking about. Some of the fruits that are really great at this time of year, certainly berries, peaches, watermelon, cherries, rhubarb, melons, and plums. And again, same thing here. One of the things that they talk about in sort of nutrition science is, do I have enough of the rainbow? Am I getting enough red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple foods? Because the more different colors you have, the colors in fruits and vegetables is what, typically has the most sort of health aspect to it. So when we're eating, red and purple berries, we know that we're getting uh, A, B, and C of different types of antioxidants or phytonutrients or polyphenols or any of these other things that make fruit what it is. And those things have health benefits. So if we're getting a nice rainbow of all of these things, then we tend to have a more full palette of nutrient density in our diet. If you only eat the same type of food all the time, then yes, you might be getting plenty of, X, Y, and Z nutrients. But if you're not also exposing yourself to some of these other things, then you may be missing out completely on, something that an orange fruit provides because you only eat purple fruits or whatever the case may be. So really trying to expand your color palette and trying to have a variety of different items in your diet as well as with the season to get the highest impact of nutrient density in your diet. So here's some of the rainbow of health information. So red fruits and vegetables are packed with vitamin C, A, potassium, and antioxidants. Antioxidants, for those of you who don't know, are basically little enzymes that go around and they like collect and destroy uh, inflammation and then also just some of the waste that our body creates. So they kind of clean them up. So it's really good to have those in our body. Orange and yellow are loaded with vitamin C and A again, and potassium, but they can also help with your immune system. And there is some discussion about its impact on our vision. So that's why people say, oh, if you eat a carrot, your vision will get better. Now, I think you'd have to eat a lot of carrots to have a real impact on your vision overall. But what they do say is that it protects the degeneration of our eyes and sort of maybe not affect our vision per se, but our structure of our eye and maybe the how the nerves communicate, etc. Green fruits and vegetables have lots of heart protective potassium and vitamin K, which can help with blood clotting processes. So, eating kales and spinaches and, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, etc. All of them can help with those things as well as maintain vision health and actually have some amount of calcium in them. So they can be helpful for, your bones and your teeth. We always hear about, dairy products with calcium, but you can get enough calcium in non-animal products. It just requires you to know about all of those different aspects. So predominantly, you're going to find more calcium in green vegetables than you will in any of the other colors. Purple and blue hinted products have help with our urinary and kidney health. They can also help with memory function and cardiovascular health and just healthy aging in general. So we talk a lot about how purple foods help with our cardiovascular health in general. So, if you have a family member or maybe you yourself have some risk factors for heart disease, cardiovascular diseases, vascular diseases, etc., then adding a bunch of these types of foods to your diet can be really good. And I hear a lot of people say, like, I hate beets. And I'm like, oh no, beets are not what they used to be. So there's lots of brands now that are making delicious beets that are, pickled or preserved, but not with chemicals. They seal them in like vacuum sealed bags, and they are delicious. No sugar added, just straight beets, but there's just the way that they cook them or the way that they preserve them. I mean, they just taste great. So if you're somebody who doesn't usually like that, that's looking for something good for yourself, I mean, the beets are a really good option. So a summer fruit salad is always a nice piece to add to your weekly diet. There's lots of different ways you can make these, but one of the ones that I make a lot for my kids and myself is I'll get like a deep dish that's, sort of, I don't know, 12 inches deep or so, and start layering the fruits and then add a layer of non-fat Greek yogurt. You could sprinkle in some granola or maybe sliced almonds or any sliced walnuts. All of those things have great heart and brain benefits to them. And then do some sort of a seed. So maybe it's a chia seed or any number of other seeds, because those have a lot of fiber and protein in them. And so between the yogurt being a protein, it has calcium, and then the fruits all have what they have, and then you have the seed that has a lot of fiber, and you do a couple layers of those and then mix it up. It really does have a nice taste to it, and even good enough to get children to eat it. So sometimes I say to my kids, like, listen, this is just as sweet and good as, your average box of whatever nerds or something that you like to eat, but it's all real food. So, it's not going to taste as sweet because it's not made out of a chemical. So it's important to, try to help um, you know, expose kids and even ourselves to these different ideas that can be just great for our health, but also, don't have any detrimental effects as well. Okay, so here I have just a couple of recipes, but this is an asparagus soup. So I think soup is a nice thing to have in this March and April time frame when sometimes it's cold and or rainy. And these are, asparagus are a seasonal vegetable at this time. So you could take a picture of this if you like, but it will also, as you know, it's being recorded. So you can just, this is pretty easy. Just take about a couple pounds of asparagus, maybe 1 pound, 2 pounds, depending on how big of a pot you're going to make. And you basically just remove the tips of the asparagus. You're going to use them later, so don't throw them away. They do have a lot of nutrient value in them. And then you're going to make it like you would any other soup. So starting with some olive oil or butter, maybe do some garlic and onion in there to soften things up a little bit. And then just follow the rest of the ingredients, but essentially you're just boiling down the vegetable, adding some broth, and then for this particular one, adding some half and half so that it's creamy in nature. So, of course, for creamy soups, you add some sort of cream or milk to them, and for a broth type one, you would just use the broth and or water instead of the cream. So a summer barbecue is always nice for seasonably fresh food. So again, with our barbecue, we can do skewers, we can do any number of ways to, cook this food. But again, yellow, red, and orange peppers have lots of nutrient value in them, and they're really nice and crisp and delicious in the summer, spring and summertime. Any of your zucchinis, yellow squashes, sweet potatoes, those types of things can all be included on this. But if you make a skewer and you got a couple pieces of chicken, and then you can do the corn, tomatoes, the squashes, etc., to make sure that you have a nice variety of fruits and vegetables along with your meat. They can be really nice. And one of the things I really like about skewers anyway is that it's like everyone can make their own. So in my family, my kids want almost all meat, of course, but they'll eat the peppers and they'll eat the broccoli if I put that on there, but they are not going to necessarily eat the corn or the mushrooms or other things. So I can put those just on mine or just on my husband's. And that makes it really nice because everyone can kind of have their own and make it how they like it. So some must-haves for this time of year that can be really helpful to have in your refrigerator. Certainly lemon and lime is always good because it's a good for flavoring. We use lemon and lime in all sorts of things like salad dressings to season, say, a fish dish or a chicken dish. They are part of marinades and other things that we are cooking with at this time. Leafy greens are good to have year round, but they are particularly high in nutrient value during the summer times. Corn, watermelon, cucumber, tomatoes are all nice because they have different uses. And one of the things I think, with watermelon, it's like, oh, we just eat it and it's refreshing. But there's lots, actually quite a few different recipes that call for watermelon. Sometimes I know that preserved meat isn't always a great choice. I'm Italian, so sometimes I make the prosciutto wrapped with melon or with basil with watermelon. So there's like different tastes that you can put together that have added health benefits. Anytime that you're using any of these sort of fresh herbs or fresh spices, those things have their own health benefits. And that's a whole different session, of course. But, looking up things about, how does turmeric help my health, or how does basil help my health, or cilantro. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can, not necessarily cure disease, but they can help with maybe reducing systemic inflammation, or help with, like oregano is really helpful for digestive issues. And, there's lots of different things that we can use these spices and herbs for that can partner really well with some of these seasonal fruits and vegetables. Flavored waters, I like to talk a little bit about that because there are a plethora of them in the grocery store. And of course, during the summertime, we tend to drink a little more water because we're outside more, it's hotter, maybe we're doing a little more physical activity. But in general, it's important to know that, of course, we lose water more because we're in the heat. And so we have to replace that water more. And in addition, a lot of people are drinking things like coffee and, different types of caffeinated beverages. And it's important to remember that caffeine is a diuretic. So that means that the fluid is uh, being taken away from our body to process. So we have to replace it in, sort of double time in that way. There's lots of ways you can naturally flavor your water. You don't have to get one of those little packets that have whatever they have in them. One of the things that we do at our house is on Sunday nights, I take like a big container, it's probably about, I don't know, it might make about 6 to 8 glasses, and fill it up with our filtered water. And then I slice a cucumber, and I take some sprigs of fresh mint, and I throw it in the container, and I cover it, and I put it in the fridge overnight. And the next morning we have very delicious, refreshing cucumber mint water. So there's lots of different things you can do. An orange blackberry ginger one you can do. There's all sorts of recipes online. Pineapple, I saw one the other day that was like pineapple mint, and I was like, oh, that sounds weird. And I tried it, and it was pretty good. So, it just gives the water a slight flavor, but without being so overpowering or having sugar be added to it, or caffeine, or any of these other things that happen to be in a lot of those packets that you get at the store. And it's also much cheaper too. So smoothies are a good option, especially to cool off in as we go into the summer. A couple of things about smoothies: you can definitely make them at your house cheaper than you would get them at, say, some smoothie restaurant. And in addition to that, most of the ones that they make at those places tend to be extremely high in calories, have lots of sugar, be made with processed fruits, etc. So, you can buy like a little magic bullet. I'm sure you've seen those in the store. I think they're about $40, but they're small. They're about this big, and it makes like 1.5 smoothies, I would say. So really just sort of for an individual. But you can get all of these items: nut butters, beets, avocado, protein powders, fresh fruits, etc. And you can make whatever you want. And there's all sorts of different ones that you can make. And I really like how, before we used to use peanut butter, and peanut butter gets stuck on the side of your blender and it'd be impossible to clean. But now they have like a peanut butter protein powder, and they have, chocolate protein powder, vanilla protein powder, any of those that you like to add to your smoothie. But in addition, if you add things that you maybe don't really like my kids don't like beets and they won't eat them, but if I sneak one or two into a smoothie, they don't taste it, and I know they're getting the nutrients from it. So if maybe you don't like the taste of certain things, or someone in your family doesn't, but you think that that item would be valuable to their health overall, then this is a nice way to sneak it into that, so that you don't know what you're eating. But you can also add things like different spices, and of course, like we mentioned a little bit ago, there are lots of spices that have health benefits, like turmeric and cinnamon and nutmeg and different types like that. And you can sprinkle a little bit on there, and it just adds like a nice additional flavor. So one of my favorite ones is a pineapple banana cinnamon, and I also like the chocolate banana peanut butter because that one tastes like a dessert. So again, super easy, definitely costs less, and also better for you overall. And you know, in general, when I talk about health with people that we work with, I'll say, you know, it's always about time, money, and health. And it's like, how do you balance the three of those things? And in a lot of these ideas, especially with smoothies, it's like it costs less than it would at a store, it's healthier than it would at the store, and it takes less time. So it's kind of like a win-win-win in that case. Um, some summer marinades are always nice, and that's where, you know, having those items in your pantry or fridge can be helpful, like the lemon and the lime. So these are just a couple of recipes here. A lemon chicken can be made very easily with lemon juice, some soy sauce, and some ground ginger, or even fresh ginger if you want to do it that way. A Key West style one might be like some soy sauce, lime, garlic, pepper, honey, and olive oil. And then maybe if you want more of that fajita spicy type flavor, you know, chili powder, lime juice, honey, garlic, salt, and pepper. So if you're looking for something to change the taste of the meat that you're eating without buying one of those pre-made marinades, which again, just like salad dressing, tend to have very high amounts of sugar, very high amounts of sodium, and then you're putting that on top of your meat and then eating it. And so that makes the meal just a little bit less healthy than it would have been had you just made it yourself. And a lot of these things, again, you can keep in your fridge for however long and use them when you need to. And it only takes 45 seconds or so to make them. So that's all I have for you today. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, but I'm happy to answer them. And otherwise, thank you so much for attending.